Well, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel, and this is episode 14 of my training log, really kind of my last week of this training plan that I was in. As next week I start a bigger training plan gearing me up for several big races coming up, the first of which is that Desert Rats 100-kilometer race, but then ultimately building up towards my 200-miler in September. Well, Monday, February 5th was a rest day from my running, but I did, of course, have a strength training session in the gym. This was longer than my previous Mondays because the plan switched up a little bit, so I was in the gym for almost an hour on Monday evening, and it was a good session for sure. I went later in the day, which is better because it's not as crowded, but it was a good session. Well, Tuesday, February 6th called for about an hour easy run, and I didn't really have any time this day because it was just a very, very busy day of work. And so I kind of squeezed it in when I can. I just hopped on the treadmill for some Netflix and mill. I did throw in a little bit of elevation just to keep it interesting, so only about 552 feet, 7-mile run, wearing the Saucony Kinvara Pros, good run, you know, for a treadmill run. So Wednesday, February 7th was my speed work day, and Tuesday we got a good bit of snow and it was still sticking around and everything was covered, so I opted again to get on the treadmill for the speed work, and this was uphill speed work. So what it was, basically I had to do a 15-minute warm-up and then 4 5-minute uphill intervals. It actually called at a 7.5 RPE, which is pretty difficult to get a 7.5, but I did my best. And then in between those was 5 minutes of recovery, again uphill, just at a much slower pace. And then about another 10-minute recovery, kind of flat afterwards, or cool down, I should say. But overall, it was almost 6.5 miles, almost 1,900 feet of elevation gain, so it was a lot. I was doing these at 7% grade, and I was running at, I think I had the treadmill set at an 8-minute and 57-second pace for those, and it felt fine. I think the 5-minute recovery in between was right around a 12-minute mile, 11:30, 12-minute pace, just real easy uphill pace. And yeah, overall felt good. You know, wearing the Hoka Rocket X2s, good session. But then late that night, after the kids were in bed, I did go to the gym for another strength session. I was there for a little over an hour again, and it was a good session. Like always, you know, Mike's been mixing up the stuff for me. It was very good. Good time in the gym. Well, speaking of Coach Mike, my strength coach, I asked him kind of what his favorite workout was for runners.
My favorite strength exercise for runners is the split squat. This setup is very important. This knee needs to be at 90 degrees at the start, okay? I'm generally not wearing running shoes when I'm doing my lifting, but I'm doing a little bit of just video and content for the day. This back foot, the laces should be on the top here, okay? So you're getting a massive stretch in this hip flexor. That's one of the reasons I like this. Also, you get a stretch and contract, stretch and contract, which is what running is a number of stretches and contractions. They call that reciprocal inhibition, okay? So it's an up and down controlled, up aggressively, down nice controlled, up aggressively. That is important. Now when you add load, those shoulders are back and aligned, not in this forward position, okay? I love many, many unilateral exercises, but this one is my favorite, the split squat.
Well, Thursday, February 8th called for about an hour easy run, and luckily most of the snow had melted off, so I got outside for a run just on the normal route. I was wearing the Hoka Mach X this time. Hadn't worn those in quite a while, but it was a beautiful day. The weather was nice. I got just a little less than an hour, about a 10K, a little bit of elevation gain, so just a good run. So Friday, February 9th had called for an hour-and-a-half easy run. And so originally my wife was going to get up really early and go run, but we actually got a fair amount of snow again throughout the night. Woke up with a good bit of snow. So we did end up going together to the new Santa Fe Trail. Figured that might be a safer place to go. I was wrong. There was a lot of areas from where the previous snow had melted, had frozen again, and had a nice solid thick layer of ice, and then on top of that was the fresh snow, so you couldn't see the ice. I actually fell once really hard on this hill, landed on my elbow. It's actually still quite sore. Landed on my butt, of course, but my butt was fine. I kind of landed on the right cheek instead of the tailbone, but then nailed that elbow, so it was uncomfortable. But overall, aside from several icy patches, I mean, we had to be very cautious and go slow and walk, and it was crazy. But overall, we got it done, and about an hour-and-a-half, so, you know, pretty slow pace, not much elevation gain, but overall, We were out in the weather, got a run done. So that's a win. We'll call it that. And I was wearing the Salomon Genesis. I don't have them with me right now because they're filthy, covered in mud. They're downstairs, but they felt really good and comfortable. I was gonna hopefully get a lot more miles in them coming up in the near future and get a review out on those pretty soon, hopefully. And then of course Friday, that means it's another day in the gym. So I went back for about an hour and 20 minutes almost. It was a lot longer session, but good time in the gym. It was busy. Fridays at 4:30, 5 o'clock in the afternoon are just busy. So got it done though, and yeah, it was a good day. Well, Saturday, February 10th was my long run, and so it called for about 3 hours. We knew there was more snow forecasted, and I was hoping to be able to get out still in the morning and go for a run. But we got dumped on in the early morning, and it snowed the entire day of Saturday. We got probably about 7, 8 inches. And so I didn't drive anywhere. I ended up just getting on the treadmill. Did keep it a little interesting because, running flat for 17 miles on a treadmill is boring. So I mixed it up. I was watching some Netflix, but I did get a good bit of elevation gain. I did some power hiking in there. Got 3,400 feet of elevation gain, 3,420 feet to be exact. 3 hours, 17 miles, wearing the Saucony Kinvara Pro. So overall, considering it's a treadmill run, I'm grateful to have that as a tool on days like that and still get some elevation gain in there, but would have much rather been outside. So hopefully we'll get a break in the snow. Well, today's Sunday, February 11th is Super Bowl Sunday, and my plan does call for another 45 minutes of an easy run, cross training, or a rest day. I am opting to take a rest day. My body feels completely fine. However, we're having a lot of friends come over later for the Super Bowl, and it's very snowy outside again, and I'm also switching up to a new plan, like I mentioned, starting tomorrow, which normally Mondays are my rest day, but it's not in this new plan, so I'll be running tomorrow. So I'm taking a rest day today in preparation for a harder, higher volume week of running. Overall though, for the whole week, still ended up being almost 45 miles of running, 6,748 feet of elevation gain. So decent week considering I did take an extra day off. Would have been about 50-mile week, but still a pretty good week of running. And then of course I had the strength training, which was much higher this week, about 3 hours and 20 minutes almost for the entire week. So definitely just continuing to build that base and getting stronger. Well, I had a couple of questions from last week's episode, so I figured I'd go ahead and answer a few of them right now. Maggie Videos had commented and asked kind of jokingly how I don't hit my head on the ceiling when I'm on the treadmill. If you see my videos when I'm on the treadmill, if I'm doing some elevation, it is pretty much touching the ceiling just about. So I do have to be very aware of that. I can go up to 15% pretty easily without hitting my head. If I go to 20%, I do have to go back on the treadmill a little bit, but it's still, I can get it done and just kind of gotta be careful. And then a few more minutes, which if you have not seen his YouTube channel, go check it out. He is hilarious. His style, his editing is awesome. Definitely check out the one where he's got, I think it's 8 tips for runners. Great video, by the way. But anyway, he asked, which 200 am I training for? So if you don't know already, I am training for the Sangre de Cristo 200 miler, which is down in the Sangre de Cristo Mountains of Colorado. It's kind of down south of the Springs just a little bit. It's a little over 200 miles, I think, maybe 203 miles exactly, but about 39,000 feet of elevation gain. So it's a pretty serious event, lots of elevation gain. It's a smaller event as far as the participants, but should be a great experience, I hope. And Kelly Benedetti asked what my must-do exercises were if I didn't have time to go to the gym. What are the few things I would do or recommend? So like Mike said, my coach, the split squats I think is a great one. Probably gonna end up being lunges as well, or some jump lunges. I think those are really good, especially if you're holding some dumbbells in each hand. That's really good as well. And then of course deadlifts. I think those 3 right there are gonna be really key to runners. And certain muscle groups that they work are just really good. And also of course throwing some planks. I mean, you get your core a little bit strong as well. So those 4 I think are gonna be my top. Don't have any time to go to the gym, squeeze those in. Well, this year's schedule is pretty full, but I'm already looking forward to 2025 thinking I want to go international. I'm wanting to go somewhere far away, different country, and do a race. So I've been looking. I would appreciate suggestions as well if you know of a fantastic trail race. Looking for probably that 100-kilometer distance, because I think that's a type that I can get done in a day It's not going to be too taxing on my body to where it's going to hurt to fly in a plane, you know, shortly after. So something in that range. But I am pretty sure I have one picked out. I think I might go over to France and run a 120-kilometer race that has about 7,500 meters of elevation gain. So for us here in the States, that's almost 25,000 feet of elevation gain and about 75 miles. So it is a serious race. Looks incredibly beautiful. It's the La Grande Raid de Pyrénées. And I would be looking at the Tour de Cirque version, which is not the full 100-mile distance, but a little bit less. And it just looks incredible. August time frame, so that's where I'm thinking I want to go. It's also part of the World Trail Majors, and it just looks amazing. So give me some other ideas. I'm open, plenty of time to plan. Give me some ideas. Well, as always, if you have any questions, please drop them below and I'll try to answer them in person on the chat, but also here on the video next week. So stay tuned. I definitely got some cool things coming up. I got this awesome windbreaker, water-resistant jacket from, I believe it's Seadon or Seadon, S-E-A-D-O-N, probably Seadon. It's incredibly small, packs up, lightweight. I mean, this thing is pretty cool. So gonna check that as well. Got plenty of other things on the way. So thank you all so much. Hope you have a good Super Bowl Sunday, or you did, and your team either won or you saw a good game or watched awesome commercials. So anyway, thank you guys. Thank you all. I appreciate it. I'll see you in the next one.